let's talk about the economy this week because, frankly, it's sending some fascinating and, well, pretty confusing signals. We're seeing signs of real strength right alongside some potential red flags. So, what's really going on? Let's dive in and unpack all this data together. And that brings us to the big question on everyone's mind. Is the economy actually powering ahead, or is it starting to run out of steam? The latest numbers, they paint a really complex picture. So let's break down the evidence, piece by piece. So to get to the bottom of this, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with some cautious optimism in the housing market. Then we're going to peel back the layers of that big retail sales report. After that, we'll dig into two competing trends in the job market. And finally, we'll tee up the key events to watch in the coming week that, hopefully, will give us some real answers. First up, let's talk housing. After a lot of pretty challenging news for anyone looking to buy, we're finally seeing what might just be a glimmer of hope. Okay, so this slide shows the pending home sales index. This is a great indicator to watch because it's forward-looking. It tracks signed contracts on existing homes. And as you can see right there, it got a nice little bump in March. That bump was a 1.5% increase month over month, and that was actually better than what most economists were expecting. It's a pretty solid sign that despite everything, higher rates and all, buyers are still out there and they're signing on the dotted line. And this quote from Lawrence Yun at the National Association of Realtors really nails it. He points out that this just goes to show how much pent-up demand is still in the market. So here's the bottom line. People want to buy. The big challenge now, as he says, is going to be getting more inventory on the market to meet that demand. Okay, next up, let's talk about consumer spending. Now, on the surface, the retail numbers looked fantastic. But as we're about to see, there's a much more complicated story hiding just underneath that headline. The headline number was a big one. Retail sales jumped 1.7% in March, easily beating what everyone was forecasting. I mean, a number like that usually screams economic strength, right? But is that what was really happening? This is where we need to look a little closer. See, on the left, you've got those strong headline numbers. But the reality, over on the right, tells a totally different story. A huge driver of that 1.7% jump was simply the rising cost of gasoline. So yeah, people were paying more at the pump, and that inflates the sales number, but it doesn't mean they were out buying more stuff. It suggests that the strength we thought we saw might not be as widespread as it first appeared. Okay, now for the job market, which might be the best example yet of these mixed signals we've been talking about. It's almost like it's telling two completely different stories at the exact same time. It's kind of wild. So first, we have initial jobless claims. That's the number of people filing for unemployment benefits for the very first time. At 214,000, this number is still very, very low by historical standards. And that suggests that widespread layoffs just aren't happening. But hold that thought. Because at the exact same time, we have what's called continuing claims. This is the number of people who are already receiving unemployment benefits. And that number is actually pretty high, sitting at over 1.8 million. So how can both of these things be true? Well, here's the most likely explanation. The low number of new claims might be partly because of the rise of the gig economy. When some people lose a job, they might turn to contract or freelance work instead of filing for unemployment right away. But on the other hand, that high number of continuing claims suggests that for those who are officially unemployed, it's taking them longer to land a new gig. So fewer people are getting laid off, but those who are staying out of work for longer. So with all these conflicting signals flying around, what do we even look for next? Well, lucky for us, the coming week is absolutely packed with data releases and events that could and should finally give us some much-needed clarity on the economy's true direction. Here's the schedule for the week ahead, so you can follow along. It kicks off Tuesday with the Fed starting its policy meeting. Then on Wednesday, all eyes are going to be on their interest rate decision. And Thursday is the big one. We get key inflation numbers, the first look at economic growth for the first quarter, and the latest jobless claims. It is a total data deluge that is absolutely going to shape the market narrative. Which really leaves us with this one final thought. We've seen clear evidence of some powerful pent-up demand, especially in housing. But we've also seen how high prices, like at the gas pump, can distort the picture, all while the Federal Reserve is watching every little move. So the ultimate question is this. Can that desire from consumers to get out and spend overcome the headwinds of inflation and high interest rates? The answer to that is going to start unfolding this week.